Hello. Welcome to another edition of Sun Dragon Tips and Tricks, Rebecca at Home. I'm Rebecca. I'm the owner of Sun Dragon Art and Fiber in Brevard, North Carolina. At my house on a Monday and still trying to drink my coffee. We'll see how this goes. So I have a whole pile of things on the table. We took a few days off after the crawl last week, and I said, I'm going to work on this and this and this. And I've worked on some. I've worked on some other things I may not have mentioned. I'm going to see what... Oh, there's yarn on the floor. I'm going to see what I can show you progress on. Hang on. I realized, I think last week, this is what I'm known for, my authenticity and everything else like that. I was like, let me go get something and I'll edit out me leaving and coming back in. I totally forgot to. Welcome to my life. I'm a little less tired this week, but I'm still tired. So, hence the coffee. And I'm left-handed. So if you all want to see the logo on this, I have to hold it like this. This, by the way, is not something we sell. It's something that one of the levels of Patreon supporters can get after 3 months. This is the tester that I got. And weekly summary on my watch, which is not accurate, of my activity. Anyway, Patreon, I'm thinking about ways to upgrade that. I may have like a special sit and stitch for people at a certain level. That's one of the things I've thought about. I already have a free one, but if you wanted to come for help and assistance, because the free sit and stitch is not for like hard questions. It's for just chilling with other knitters and crocheters. So I'm thinking about one of the levels I may up to having a coach and connect that's not connected to the make-alongs, that kind of thing. I'm still thinking that through. Right now I have to get back on track with what I already promised Patreon, which was like longer videos of me doing things with my hands for the morning meditation. It's been hard with the crawl and stuff going on to do all the other stuff. Like today's my day to film for you. I also, like, the shop's not open. I'm filming for you. I have a therapy appointment this afternoon. I am putting out a newsletter every other week, so I need to do that. And I'd like to, on top of that, update the in-shop calendar of classes, as well as the Coach and Connect. That was something I was supposed to look at before I came on with you all so I could have dates for it, and I haven't. For the next make-along, I also would like to work on the online shop, and that's a lot for one person. So let's start with the Coach and Connect for the next make-along. So I'm wearing, this is the second of this make-along that I finished. I know I've showed it off on this channel before, but this is my second Granny Hexi Cardigan. And I started a third. I'm going to try not to like fall on my bum. I know that would be comic relief for everyone. I started a third and then was so busy making chickens for the yarn crawl, of which, by the way, between donations to the shop saying, hey, this is for Hurricane Helene relief. Try saying that 10 times fast. I can't even say it at normal speed. Donations and a couple more chickens sold, I will be donating about another $100 to Beloved Asheville. And this little guy, this was going to be my third Granny Hexi Cardigan. And honestly, what's a make-along if I don't have one left over that I'm still trying to finish? So this is as far as it's gotten. I'm using the Land du Nord gradient paint sock and an H hook, and I think it'll be lovely and squishy and light in a way. That's not going to get finished anytime soon. So moving on to, I'll see if I can do some head math on the dates for the Coach and Connect for the next one. But this, so the next make along, we're going to finish up with the one crochet one we had this year. And we're going to move on to, I'm calling it the Make Your First Sweater. I'm moving some cords and stuff out of the way. I'm calling it the Make Your First Sweater make along. It's the flax. There are actually 3 weights of it. The worsted is the one I'd recommend starting with if you haven't made a sweater before, because it's the thickest version of yarn the pattern's written for, by Tin Can Knits. Flax worsted, flax DK, that's a little bit thinner. Worsted's like right in the middle, number 4 yarn. And there is a flax sock, and it doesn't mean you're making a sock. It's sock weight or fingering weight. It's misleading if you're not knowing what they're talking about. But this is mine. I'm finally almost done with it. I want to try it on for you all today, because I'm doing my sleeves 2 at a time. 1, 2, but they are on the same set of cords. It's kind of hard to show off to y'all. I'm going to take this off. They're on 2 circulars, and the way that you can do this, I have a video for this. It's very hard to demonstrate this way, but the way you can do this is you will be going like you break each set of stitches in half, and one set goes from the underarm up to the top of the shoulder, and then the underarm up to the top of the shoulder. And then the other set, you can do this with 1 magic loop. I prefer 2 circulars. The other set of circulars is going to go shoulder down to the armpit, and then the other sleeve shoulder down. So we like to say in the shop, it means you take the sweater and it's kind of like this, so that you can go up and then snake over and go up, and then down, and it snakes over and goes. So the cord here goes like, but you can squish them together. It means that I'm doing my decreases at the same time. So there's no question of, will one sleeve be longer than the other? It looks really, see, here's the, trying to lay it out like this, right? It means it looks a little funny when I try to hold it up on the cords. And it also means I can't try it on while the needles are on, set up correctly for 2 at a time sleeves. I, though, am at the point where the pattern called for my size to do about 6 inches from the underarm, which is right there, straight, and then decreasing every 6th row, 2 stitches taken out every 6th row. If you can see, it does get narrower as it goes, and that's something that the cardigan I just had on didn't have decreases, and it looked like the sleeves got bigger when you're starting from the underarm going out on sleeves. Someone made a point once that a lot of bottom-up sweaters, even when they are seamless, like you end up with not having to sew stuff, your sleeves will start bottom up too, and then you'll have increases instead of decreases. But going this the way the flax does, the flax starts up here at the neck, it increases out along diagonal lines. Can you see where those stripes shift? This is an Encore yarn. This is like a $60 sweater for my size versus something double that with a nicer yarn, because it's mostly acrylic with a little bit of wool. But you see where those stripes that it's making shift. Go, there's 2 diagonal seams on the front and 2 on the back. So you go out to like almost to like where the t-shirt would be, except it's still one big band. And then you break off the sleeves. You turn it from 1 hole into 3, I like to say, and 2 of them on your sleeves end up on stitch holders, and you make the bottom the torso, which is what I did. And then you go back to the sleeves, and you can do them 1 at a time or 2 at a time. If it's your very first sweater, you may not want to do 2 at a time sleeves. And then my arms are shorter than what most pattern writers think arm lengths would be for someone of my girth. And so even when I wasn't more overweight, kind of like I am, I would always, when I followed the sleeve instructions, would end up with sleeves that were way too long, because they'd go, okay, go this many inches straight, now do decreases every so many rows until you get to this stitch count, because you do them so many times, and then keep going till your sleeves are 18 inches from your underarm. And first of all, 18 inches from my underarm would be like past my, like at my fingertips. And second of all, I would do those decreases and already be further. Like I couldn't keep knitting to get to that length. And I only learned that through the process of making a lot of sweaters, that for me, I need shorter sleeves. And so what I did, instead of 6 inches straight on these guys, it's one of the few times I adapt a pattern or change a pattern in any way, because I have to mostly be able to tell people what I did if they want to make one like mine at the shop. But if I'm making something to fit me, I may shift some things. I am not good. People have come in and asked me, well, how do I make bust changes? And like my shoulders are not as wide as the rest of me. And I have that issue. But I think that's why I like the top-down sweaters, where the shoulder can kind of settle where it wants to, and I don't tend to change much here, and I just shortened my sleeves. So I did 4 inches instead of 6 inches before I started my decreases. And I've been decreasing every 5 rows instead of every 6. So, and I want to say, I can't remember how many stitches I started with. I started with 64 maybe, and I had to go to 48. So that's hard math for me, but 14, I think it's 16 stitches have to come out, which means 8 decreases. So my head math is better than it used to be, but it's still not great. So 8 times 6, that's 48 rows, and 8 times 5, that's 40. So that's 8 rows shorter are my sleeves right now. So what I want to do while I'm talking to you all is I am going to put these, like I'm going to transfer all of these stitches to one needle and all the other stitches to one needle. I'm going to slide them over. So that, actually, no. There's an easier way if I can find a barber cord. So the hack for when you're doing 2 at a time sleeves and you don't want to have to reposition over and over and over and over again is what Liz has done in the past is we're going to take one of the 30-inch barber cords and put a little tie at the halfway point. And then, so this won't take up too much of y'all's time. I am going to stick a needle tip into each end. So my sleeve here, 2 needles coming out of this sleeve. I'm starting at the shoulder because that's where I want to go from the armpit up, what was the armpit, up to the shoulder. I have both ends. I'm going to try to make sure they're as secure as possible, but I'm also going to do this very gently. And then I am going to slide both of these on there. Da-da! Now this sleeve is totally on barber cords, and I'm going to tie off the other end. And the other side is on 2 kind of ridiculously long circulars for it, but then I can hold it like this and I can try it on for y'all. Now, when I'm putting it back on, I have to make sure that the correct needles are in the correct holes to have the alignment still go the way it's supposed to and not be twisted. So I'm going to have to pay careful attention to that. This here means technically this is the back. I don't think I did any short rows on this. That's the other thing. A lot of a lot of sweaters that start top down will have short rows in the back to kick, you know, like this shirt has the front is lower than the back straight across. With sweaters, you can do that with short rows. And I have some videos explaining how that functions. This pattern comes with optional short rows. I don't think I did it on this one, just so you could see how it looks without the short rows. But what I want to test right now is the length of my sleeves to see how I would rather have my sleeves decrease too fast and have to knit more length at the bottom than decrease too slowly and have them be way too long. I didn't start my decreases sooner because I still need to leave room. Like my upper arms are a little chunky, you know, so, but that's something that you can adapt with time, and you may find you make it one time and you have to switch the next time you make it for what you want it to do. And I think this might be one of the first times I've tried it on with the bottom finish too. Bottom's a decent length. My t-shirt's longer, like right about here is where my little muffin top, you know, so this may be a little short if I wanted to raise up my arms. See, like that's my tummy right there. Oh. Because my pants are falling down. That's the thing with having a few extra pounds on you, is your pants don't fit really well. That's why I don't wear pants a whole lot. I wear dresses at the shop. But so raising my arms above my head, but I needed this to be done for the class. I will say that I usually make my sweaters a little bit longer. So I started this sweater several years ago, and it may be a little snug on me. Like I might have picked a bigger size if I was making it today. But right now it's, you know, it doesn't have a lot of positive ease, but it's okay. It depends on if you like something having a whole lot more positive ease or not. I would say, looking at this right now, like they kind of want to ride up. And the other thing I find about sleeves is you probably want to add a little bit of extra onto them to just in case. Because if I pull this down, I can be like, oh, cool, I only have 2 or 3 more inches to go. And then the cuff. I like my before cuff to come to my wrist bone, and then the cuff goes past that. Because if the cuff comes to the wrist bone, it tends to ride up, and then it feels short to me. So, but see how this one feels shorter than this one. It's probably just the weight of the needles a little bit. I would say I have a good 4 inches to go before I'm feeling really comfortable with the length of these sleeves. But this is another really interesting thing, I think, to point out, is how the stripes are changing, because the stitch count is changing. So up here, I have more stitches. It's getting narrower as it goes, but you would think once I separated sleeves, the stripes would get thicker again, but somehow they've managed to get thinner. It must just be the way the colors are changing. The color on the sleeves definitely just starts to elongate because the sleeves have far fewer stitches than the torso does. So if you take a self-striping yarn, this is kind of a waving striping yarn. This is kind of like our inexpensive version of something like Feederbrook or Spin Cycle. It's going to stripe at different rates in different places and just look different. So I probably could have done, like if we look at, let's see, 8 rows, more rows there. I probably could have done my decreases every 6 rows and still been okay, because I took off 2 inches before I started decreasing. But I didn't want to take the chance, and I'm not backing this out now. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm going to do at least 3 to 4 more inches of straight knitting before I start the cuffs. And I will probably do what I did here and try it back on again before I start the cuffs, just to make sure. I really want it comfortably hitting my wrist bone before I do my cuffs. Now, if you don't mind if it rides a little high, that's great. But I like to have the room when it's down and the ability to push them up, because they probably will sit about here when I'm done, because I'm always pushing my sleeves up. But I don't think I want to end it here or make them shorter just because of that, because then my wrists will feel naked. So yay, this is, and I'm probably going to take this off now because it's a little toasty for the time of year, and it's hanging on to 2 different balls of yarn for each for the different sleeve, and that's going to get caught on stuff. So but this is either if you want to participate in an easy sweater, even if you are already a sweater maker, or if you have been nervous to try a sweater. Sweaters are so popular right now, and this one is, I think, a really great beginner one. The detail work on the shoulders and the sleeve that you saw, it's a garter panel, which garter is what happens when you knit flat every row, but this is done circularly. So on one row you will be knitting it, and one row you'd be purling it. But I have a lot of people who simply skip that part for their first sweater. They just make it, when it talks about setting up the garter like swatch or garter like section, you just ignore that. You just say, okay, wherever it says to switch on one row to switch from knits to purls, I'm just still knitting. And so I have a lot of people who've done this as their first sweater and modified it to make it easier for them. So that's June and July. And in shop, I can't offer as much help virtually as I can in shop. And we're not doing a super in-depth lecture series like I did before. But in shop, this one, we have our kickoff class for $50 on, I believe it's June 7th, is that first Saturday, the first Saturday of June. We have a kickoff class on June 7th when you pay for $50 to sit down with me and go through the overview of the pattern and everything, like a lot of startup information, talking about gauge swatching, talking about what yarn you might want to use, and like if we have enough in shop, what you'll need, that kind of thing, what your options are. That will also, when you're in shop, will earn you discounts on your supplies, on if you need assistance other times during those 2 months. And the in-shop people will have a sit and stitch for people who either don't want to come to the introductory class. They're like, I'm going to wing it. I might need help, but I might not, but I just want to sit with other people who are making this sweater and share the experience. That starts on Wednesdays throughout those 2 months. And of course, I don't have the information in front of me. The Wednesday, I think it's something that people who are local can look up a little better. That's also the time when, if you need help, like the sit and stitch is free. Again, in shop, the sit and stitch is free. It's a couple of hours every other Wednesday. And if you need assistance during that time, it's $15 an hour for people who didn't take the intro class, and it's $10 an hour for people who did. So it's one of those, instead of putting pressure on people to be at certain spots at certain classes, and can you make all the classes, it's, if you can come to the sit and stitch times, that's awesome. If you can come to the general sit and stitch times as well, we just won't be offering help then. And then when you need help for, say, sleeve separation or yoke increases or other things, there's a time set aside for that. We also have Friday drop-in help at the shop, and the same rates would apply. But those are the times to come for help, are the Wednesdays of the sit and stitch, the make-along sit and stitch, and Friday drop-in help. Now, for people who are far away and all over the place, the best option we have right now, if you're really excited to try your own first sweater and would like some coaching on that, it's not going to be full-blown classes. It's our Coach and Connect sessions, which are 4 one-hour sessions after we close on Saturdays, every other Saturday throughout June and July. And we won't have like full-blown crazy lecture series or things like that, because it'll only be an hour every time we meet. The first time we meet will probably be more of that overview and any and all questions. And the other times we meet, it could just be, hey, share progress, ask questions. I don't know if I would have topics for each and every one because, again, I don't want to put pressure that, okay, in 2 weeks you have to be here, in 2 weeks you have to be here, and that kind of thing. But it's $40 total for that because I can't provide the level of assistance I can provide in shop. But if you would like to hang with other people who are making the same thing and ask questions as they arise during those times, or bring your questions there, that is, it's going to be, so if I can do the head math, it's June 7th. And then add 14 days, it's June, I want to say, I guess it's the 21st. Check me on that. Those are the 2 June dates. And then in July, it's going to be, I want to say like the 3rd of July. It's a Saturday. Again, no show notes. Don't have the calendar in front of me. Should have show notes for this one. The 3rd and then the 19th, I think. I will correct that next week if they're different dates. And again, I want to get the calendar up online, which means the calendar, or if I put up on the online shop the ability to purchase the Coach and Connect. I really want to get that up for you all so you can think and plan. That will have the correct dates because I will have a calendar in front of me when I'm doing that. But it really could be a good way to have a support system, because I feel like a lot of people who come in to the shop for help, sometimes they don't even really need me, but it's nice to have the support system there just in case. And that's what I am for all of you who come to the Coach and Connect. It's very different than a sit and stitch. Sit and stitch, we're just gabbing about whatever. Coach and Connect for the losing my words. For the make-alongs, will be very specific to those make-alongs. And again, I'm thinking about, do I want to do a Coach and Connect for in general, for people who want to come and ask questions in general? That would probably have to be at most once a month, but they would be, again, I'm still working out the details. It would be, if you're pledging a certain amount on Patreon, you would have access to that. That is probably going to start at $15 or $20 a month, something like that on Patreon. But you would have access to that Coach and Connect that we would do, let's say once a month, but that would be very focused on, we could just hang and chat, but it would be very focused on, if you have questions, if you want direct interaction, that's the time to do it. Would love to be able to offer that and also support the shop. So that's a whole, okay. Shifting to all the other fun things I've been working on. So, I'm excited that this is almost done. I'm like, I should have a tape measure here. And of course I don't think I do. If I find a tape measure, I will try to measure. I really swore I had one here. But it might be in the other room. So, if I still need to do 4 inches or so, I want to say that this may only be 10, 11 inches long right now, to go back to this for just a second. But again, that's something that if you're doing your own sweater, you might have to play around with just to see what happens. So, okay. Piles of things here I'm going to wade through and pull out one at a time. I have talked about that. I've talked about that. I started my ranunculus for everyone who, and everyone who has emailed me and said thank you for my videos and all these other things. You're very, very, very welcome. I had no idea my help on the ranunculus would be so helpful to so many people, and it's really, really cool to see. So I took this yarn, which is Noro Sonata Shima. I decided it was time to make another ranunculus because a few of mine have the yarn's no longer offered in the shop or something. So this yarn, it's hard to see how pretty it was balling up because some of the prettiest colors are in the sweater already. But it also is, I think, really interesting. Not all yarn that looks like this is going to ball up like this. Some is going to be much more variegated. Noro tends to be a lot more stripy. And so I am making the Sonata Shima from Noro. It's a great Japanese company that's known for their amazing colors. This is a cotton, viscose, silk, and polyamide blend. The most it has is cotton, 35%, 20% silk. And so it balled up like this. And then it is knitting up like this. It's so pretty. Like that green, it's in there. Can you see it? It's in there. So it's super stripy. So if you're not a super stripy person, and here's the back short rows, and here's the front short rows. I'm almost to the raglan increases. Yeah, if you're not a stripy color person, this may not be the yarn for you, or I probably isn't the yarn for you. What I like about it is, even though like it changed colors in the middle of that flower section, the lace section, like people will think I did that on purpose. I didn't. People will be like, oh, you changed colors here and here and here. I said, I just let the yarn do the work. I'm going to see if I can find, okay, this is another small barber cord that my kitty has been chewing on. And this is a longer one that's a little stiff right now, but we're going to see if I can get it on the little stiff one without it totally coming off. For some people, their size 10 needles will not be pointy enough to get onto a barber cord. And my Chow-Gu lace I find are pretty pointy. But I've had people say barber cords don't work for me when I'm making a ranunculus. And we have looked into getting thicker cords, like not the ones the barber cord, the knitting barber sells, but making our own only for the big ones that we can't get from her. And there's been too much going on at the shop to really look at that in depth in a way that is cohesive and like that we would feel good selling them to everybody. We haven't tested them enough. There's too much going on at the shop. If I wasn't doing as much with the shop, if someone else was teaching the classes, there's a lot of reasons that maybe we could get it done, but that's not the way our shop functions. And it is what it is right now. So this is the middle of the back. So I put enough on here that I think, it's gonna mess up my hair. That's okay. This is the tighter neck. I did the provisional cast on, and with the cotton, it's not gonna have as much give as another yarn, but this is what my ranunculus is looking like so far. And I am loving it. It's very different. This is really earthy tones compared to a lot of the others I've made so far. So this is going to be a nice earthy looking one. I'm planning on doing something slightly longer than the short sleeve option. Short sleeve option is like cast off, right at sleeve separation. It tends to have really big open armholes that go down to here, and I don't like my armpits very much. I don't really want to expose them to the world. I have a skin condition that I have scars there. So I've done a bunch that are that short sleeve version, and I may follow the long sleeve instructions, but then just put a few rows, just a little bit. So it feels more like a short sleeve t-shirt where you're not looking at my underarms, but I'm not there yet. I am just past, if I take this off and show it to you all, I am just past that pull-up section. I've just finished doing the 2 sections of that after the flowers. So while I'm talking to y'all, I'm gonna get it off the barber cord so it's ready to go for knitting. It means the stripes will once again change pace. And I don't know when I finish this one and head to the second skein of yarn I'm using, if I'm going to try to make the stripes match. I don't know if I really care that much about, like, Noro has consistent striping where it goes in the same order. And there's going to be a knot in there somewhere anyway where the stripes may change color. So, and if someone is really like, oh, well, it did this color sequence and then it did that one. All right, it goes backwards now. I'm going to be like, you're paying too much attention to my sweater. Probably. So, all right. So that's off my barber cords. So that's the progress I've made this week on my next ranunculus. And boop, trying not to get these things confused. So I talked about this yarn, which is the Sammy, and how I wanted to make the Elizabeth scarf. And I realized after I filmed that there are two colors that start with C, S-E-A, like the ocean. This is the old one. This is Sea Foam. And the new one that I actually wanted to make my scarf out of is called Sea Spray, because we have both, but they are so close. So here's the new one. And in this lighting, you almost can't tell, but people are like, I thought it was darker when I saw it online. It is, because this one, I accidentally brought home the wrong one, which is why it's still not wound. Managed to pick up this guy. And because just the new color we have more of, so there's more to show off what happens and what it'll look like for other people to make this. And here is my Elizabeth scarf so far. So those cables, it's a cotton, this is 100% cotton DK. So the texture is going to be a little bit different than if I did this in a wool. Like it doesn't have, it's got more stretch than you expect cotton to have because it is a loose twist cotton. It's softer than you expect it to have, and actually it retains its shape a little better because of that. Like people are like, cotton shrinks, I'm not going to use cotton. Not just, well, they'll say it shrinks, and that's because they put it in the dryer too much. They'll say it grows, and that's because tight twist cotton is heavy. And so in my experience, it might pull under its own weight. We had someone who wrote me, and I need to get back to her about some other like suggestions she was making. She wants to do the flax DK. Can I use Cascade Ultra Pima? She said, and that is a really tight twist cotton. It is a DK. The thing about cotton, though, if you're in a warm climate, you might think, hey, plant fibers are better for me. However, heavy plant fibers, the thicker the cotton gets and the tighter the twist on it, the warmer it's going to feel. It won't have the fuzzy feel of wool, or like this is going to feel different on my skin than a sweater made out of, which is acrylic and wool. It's going to feel different on my skin than one that's made out of cotton. But the cotton will only breathe so well the thicker it gets. It won't feel fuzzy. So it might be okay for like fall or spring, but again, the heavier it gets, the warmer it's going to be still. So the Sammy, it's 50 gram skeins. You'd need a lot more of it for a sweater, but the Sammy would be a lovely option, I think, for a lighter weight, more breathable garment. If you're going to make a garment, I've made a sweater. I've made I'm blanking now. It's not the Serrata because that's this. It's okay. Caitlin Hunter. Starts with an S. My brain is going blank. I might come back to it before the end of the podcast, but if not, someone could put it in the comments because I don't have my computer in front of me. But it's one of her short sleeve tops that's really, really gorgeous. And it really hasn't stretched out over time. It's a short sleeve top. A long sleeve, like making the flax long sleeve for warmer climates, it's going to be warm no matter what. So again, this has a lighter structure. I was actually watching this video on seersucker suits that CBS Sunday Morning did. And the seersucker, which most people think of the striped suit, it was saying how, I mean, it's made out of cotton and it's got tight warp and loose warp or weft, you know, like, so some strands are tight in the weave and some are loose. And it's having some, like, this is not the equivalent in knitting, but you need something that has some more breathability to it in cotton, no matter what, because the thicker you get, the more it's like having a wool suit rather than a seersucker, I think. So like this guy is cotton and silk. The silk's gonna be kind of warm, but if you do it on a looser, I just remembered something. That's why I lost my train of thought. If you do it on a bigger needle, like the ranunculus is on a 10, you're going to have more breathability. I just had a thought that y'all are going to have to wait on the other thing I'm doing out of this. I haven't started it yet. I think I have the Kutar tee. I keep talking about making it. I knit like 1 row or 2 rows in the Sonata, not Shima, that's more tonal. And then we're almost out of the color I was going to make it in. So so that's selling itself, this denim-y, like light denim blue. So I am going to make that out of like a cherry blossom pink. I'm actually so excited. Like teenager me would be like, you're doing pink? What are you doing? But I think it's going to be really pretty. I left it in the other room because I need to wind it. So not showing you that today. But I do have the color I'm not doing it in is this one. I've already frogged it. I'll have to do something else with this, but, that's still on the back burner. Like it's like getting preheated, you know, that kind of thing. I brought home my key sweater, but again, I haven't done anything more than the neck on it. So y'all are going to have to wait on that. Let's see. I've made a little bit of progress on, this is the next thing to talk about for classes, is toe-up socks. I am cobbling together my own pattern for toe-up socks using Turkish cast-on, 2 at a time toe-up socks actually, Turkish cast-on, in backwards loop increases, and I've gotten through my toes, and I'm now just starting to knit with a hand dye. Like this is one hand dye from a local dyer, and this is another. When I get to the heels, I'm going to do it in this, what Hannah calls Velveeta cheese color. And I'm going to use the short row heel. That's my favorite from a pattern written by the shop I used to work at. So I'm cobbling together pieces of my favorite patterns, and I will have my own pattern, not for sale. It will go with the class, and that's in person right now. Like if you're really interested, we can try to do a version online, but it won't be immediately. It won't be for a while, but in person, we're doing 2 classes on this. We are doing, the first class is May 24th, which is coming up. It's actually this Saturday, so I have to really get my butt going on this. So this Saturday is class 1. We have some people taking it at a different time, and that's to learn to do the toes and get started. And then 3 weeks later on June 14th, we're going to have a class on the heels. So hopefully that gives people enough time to get to the heels. But I will, if I don't get to the heels before Saturday for the class, I will show people on other socks I've made what it will look like. So, and I'll be able to piece together, the pattern will be complete by then. So anyway, that's in person. If you really are jonesing for a class, a virtual class on this, the in-person class is $90 for the 2 sessions. A virtual class, we'd have to see, and we'd have to see about when we can schedule it, because I can't do it at the same time. There's been so much going on right now. I don't have the energy to do virtual classes. The Coach and Connect's different, but classes has been like, it's like a whole nother day of work. So that's really tough. A couple other things I've been working on. It was popular on Ravelry like last week. There was this plushy cat pattern that looked kind of like a potato with ears and looked really adorable. So you knit a bunch of pieces in stockinette and stockinette curls. So until it's sewed together, this isn't going to look like much. But there's 3 panels that decrease at the top, and then you make ears and a tail. It's someone's blog post, so it's plushy cat. I can't remember all the details. I'm making it out of Wizard just to have a really squishable, fun cat for the shop. This is how tall it will be, basically, like this tall. So it's our version of the emotional support chicken. We have several emotional support chickens that Carol, shout out to Carol, made for the shop. And this is going to be our emotional support squishy cat. So I started making that because that's the color of many of the cats associated with workers in the shop. And the other thing that is coming up, I want to say the last Saturday, again in shop, last Saturday of May, we have a bag that it's called the Hippie Sling Bag, and it takes 3 granny squares. I'm making it out of our new eucalyptus yarn. It's called Myrtle. And just to see what happens with it, but you make 3 squares, and when you fold them in half, so you have 3 triangles. Let's see if I can lay this out on me. So I figured I should get my butt going because I only had 1 triangle made. But when you make 3 triangles, this is going to be, that's the bag. And then you put a handle here. Isn't that cool? So Hippie Sling Bag. I think it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and then with a link to her website. Or no, it's a download off Ravelry. Again, I can't remember all the designers. I have to have a list in front of me next time. But, you know, put a comment below if I don't put it in the description, and I'll try to link it when I have a chance. So I'm almost done. I'm using 4 skeins of the Myrtle, and I still have all of this left after I did that. So I definitely have enough to attach it and to make the strap. Just 4 skeins of worsted weight yarn for that. And a cotton would work really well too. That bag I just showed you, I'm hoping, so the way to do this, if it's within your means, in person but not at the shop, I am trying to teach some crochet bags in New Hampshire this September at 3 Mile Island in Lake Winnipesaukee. It's not the radioactive one, that's in Pennsylvania. So if you're in the New England area and want to do the Creators Week on 3 Mile Island, I'm trying to do some crochet bags, and I have no idea what the enrollment is. I'm sure it's not full, but it's something to go check out, the Creators Week program on 3 Mile. And it's a really, if you like outdoorsy type stuff, it's an island with no running water except for where they prepare your food and the dock house. And you stay in cabins, and there's outhouses involved. And I have such fond memories from being a kid and spending my summer, like a week in the summer up there. So if being a little outdoorsy, you're not like camping in a tent or anything, but being a little outdoorsy and having your food, which is wonderful, provided for you, consider checking that out, because I will be doing that in September. And I will be, even if you've never learned to crochet, I will be teaching crochet bags that week. It's like a 4-day retreat. So that's something to consider. If you'd like to meet up with me in person, you can do it through that vehicle. But we have to make sure there's space in the retreat. Anyway, and I fully want you to know what you're getting into. Is in the summertime, they have docks for every cabin. And what I found when I went last year as a participant is the docks are taken out. You can still go in the water, but like water shoes and, you know, there's accessibility issues could be, you know, if that's a problem for you, know that that's the deal with this island. It's pretty rustic. So, anyway, I think I've talked your all's ears off enough. Like I said, we have classes coming up. We have the 2 at a time toe up socks class at the shop this Saturday. And if you say you're interested in doing a virtual option, I'll start to keep a list going, and I will reach out to you for ways to stay in touch in case we do that. We're doing the Hippie Sling Bag in 2 Saturdays. And then it's time for, I can't believe it, it's already time for our Make Your First Sweater Make Along to start, which has virtual and in-shop options. So consider, ask questions underneath. If you have questions I can address next week. If I missed any, let me know again, because I'm still recovering from the crawl and it's still pretty crazy. So, but we've been having fun at the shop, so it's really good. I still have coffee here that is now pretty cold, but still drinkable. and it's almost lunchtime. Ha! So I'm going to go get onto my newsletter next and get this video up as soon as I can. And as I always like to say, may your crafting be filled with joy and confidence. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.